This is a special episode of Mystery. Let's dig into it. On April 13, 1940, a German reporter named Franz von Papen was strolling through the streets of Katyn when he came across a small group of Polish officers standing by a freshly dug grave. As he approached them, they quickly tried to hide their faces behind their greatcoats. When Captain von Papen asked what was going on, one of the officers stammered out something about having just buried an acquaintance who had died of a sudden illness. The Germans didn't believe them. They knew that these men had killed their friend and were trying to cover it up. And as punishment, the Germans made the officers dig another grave and then shot them all to death. Over the next few months, thousands of Polish officers would be rounded up and taken to Katyn, where they were all shot by German soldiers and buried in mass graves. The Germans even went so far as to build a fake village in order to lure more victims to their deaths. It was the perfect crime, or so they thought. In reality, the killings at Katyn were part of a secret Soviet operation ordered by Joseph Stalin himself. The Polish officers had been arrested in the fall of 1939, right after the Soviet-German Non-Aggression Pact was signed. Stalin wanted to get rid of them because they might have been a threat to Soviet security. So he sent them to hard labor camps in Siberia, where most of them were worked to death. Some of the survivors were sent to Katyn to be executed. When the Germans took over Katyn in 1941, they found the bodies of nearly 4,500 Polish officers. They also found documents that implicated the Soviets in the killings, but they didn't make that information public. Instead, they blamed the Poles themselves and launched a propaganda campaign to that effect. The Germans even went so far as to put on a mock trial, complete with actors, which portrayed the Katyn massacre as an act of reprisal for a perceived slight by the Polish government in exile. The real story didn't come out until 1990, when a joint Polish-Russian commission uncovered the truth. By that time, most of the victims' relatives had already given up hope of ever finding out what really happened at Katyn. But for those who did learn the truth, it was a bitter pill to swallow. For over 50 years, the Soviets had blamed the Germans for the massacre. And now it was clear that the Soviets had lied to the world. Not just about Katyn, but about everything else they'd done during World War II. The Soviets had murdered millions of people without ever admitting it. They would bury their victims in mass graves and then built monuments to commemorate the victims of Nazi atrocities.